Alright, I wanted to talk about two things today. First is about the way the Chelsea fans reacted after our defeat against Bournemouth, and second is a small bit on Eden Hazard. Was that the worst Chelsea performance I've seen in over 10 years? Absolutely yes. That second half performance deserved nothing but a 4-0 loss, showed no passion, showed no intensity, showed no will to play football. They simply just fell apart. I've never seen anything like that since the time I've started following Chelsea, and it's not acceptable for a team like Chelsea. And the result was just a disaster, also considering the fact that Tottenham got their 3 points, United are closing in, and Arsenal are now ahead of us. We're currently out of fourth place. I'm pretty sure many fans blame Maurizio Sarri for this. I accept Maurizio Sarri is a stubborn manager. I accept he plays the same way and he's not willing to change. I accept the fact that he's not going to adapt. I accept that his in-game management skills are poor. I accept that his substitutions are poor, but I'm not going to blame it on him. I'm not going to blame everything on him. The players are responsible, he's responsible, his staff are responsible, and more importantly, the club are responsible. Let's go back to the time when Maurizio Sarri was hired as a Chelsea manager. Chelsea knew they were going to sack Conte. Chelsea knew they were going to hire Sarri. But why would we start the preseason with Antonio Conte for over 10 days and then appoint Sarri 1 week before our league campaign starts? And the fact that he didn't have his most important players as they were coming back later from the World Cup, and the fact that he had to travel to Australia for one single game and come back and then tour Europe for preseason, and all of this in a span of 10 days with no players to work with, how do we expect him to get his ideology into the Chelsea side? I clearly don't expect that at all. Obviously now he's got 6 months into his reign and he should have had enough time to make the players believe in his idea and show glimpses of it. I believe we did show glimpses of it. Now we're just talking about this because we're all reactionary fans, we're all delusional because we've had a string of poor results, and we're asking for Sarri out already. We're demanding the club to sack Sarri. That's nonsense. We are the same fans who demanded the club to hire a manager who believed in attacking football, and we got one. Do you remember the time how it was when we had Mourinho in charge? Do you remember the time when we had Antonio Conte in charge? We don't want to go back to that. We need a manager for the long run, a manager who believes in his system and he's going to build on for the next 3 to 4 years, which is his target. He believes he can make Chelsea the greatest team in Europe with his ideology, and I believe so too. We've seen glimpses of his football in the first half of the season. We're the same fans who sang his name during the first half of the season after our incredible start, after our unbeaten start. Now all of a sudden we want Maurizio Sarri out because, yeah, we're in a worse off position after 3 weeks from where we were. I don't buy it. I absolutely don't buy it. And especially considering the fact that the greatest managers currently in Premier League, Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, the so-called greatest managers, do you remember how they fared in their first season? Pep Guardiola came into an already fit and ready-made Manchester City side. He got his players in, it was a failure. His first season was a failure, he went trophyless and he finished 4th place. And also considering he spent most of the time in the second half of the season in the 5th place, they were just lucky to make it to 4th. And what happened to him after City gave him the resources and gave him the players? Broke all fucking records, shattered every record, won the league. And that's what we're going to do. I believe Maurizio Sarri is going to do that next season or probably the season after. I really think we're going to win a trophy this season. I just want the club to give him time. I just want the fans to respect him and have patience in what he's doing. And I just want them to stick by him no matter what. Speaking of Maurizio Sarri's press conferences and his comments about the players' mentality and characteristics, I totally agree with him. We can blame him for giving excuses about things like that, but he also admits responsibility, he also takes charge, and he also says it's his fault that he's not able to motivate the players, and it's not the players' fault. He says it's difficult for him to motivate the players in smaller matches, and it's quite evident our players are motivated enough for big games. We saw that against Liverpool, we saw that against Manchester City, and we also saw that against Tottenham last week. They don't need extra motivation to play big teams. It's only when they have the smaller teams, when you have lots of possession, we have lots of ball, and we just sleep. We have players like David Luiz at the back who doesn't take up responsibility, he just sleeps. And we saw what happened. We are not used to having possession because this group of players are used to playing under managers like Mourinho and Conte. We just have the ball, we move it around, and like Sarri says, there is not enough movement up front and in the front three. We have players like Hazard and Willian, who certainly are individual players. They're not going to make the runs behind. It's certainly going to be difficult for Gonzalo Higuain to just knock it out of the park right when he comes in. It's going to be difficult and it's going to take time. As he says, as he wants to stick by his ideologies, I believe we should too. I also wanted to talk about how he took responsibility in his press conference to come out, stop being a coward, and apologize to the fans. I didn't see any player do it. It shows we have no leaders in the team. And post the game, to all those traveling fans who stayed in that shell, who stayed in that weather to support the team, hats off to you guys. And the only players who went and appreciated that effort were Luis and Azpilicueta, who Sarri clearly says are the only leaders. Where's our club captain, Gary Cahill? I don't see him have an influence in this case. We miss a player like John Terry. We miss a player like John Terry and Frank Lampard running the dressing room. We miss a manager who's got an assistant manager like Steve Holland who knows the club inside out. Now we've got Gianfranco Zola, I agree, but is he a leader himself? I agree, he was a great player. He's just another individual player like Eden Hazard. They're not leaders. Hazard may be the captain of the Belgian national team, but he's not a leader as Maurizio Sarri states. So now what do? We just have to be patient with everything. We just have to be calm. We just have to hope that we finish in 4th place as was the objective. And by the way, the objective at the start of the season was pretty clear for us. Finish in the top 4, nothing more, nothing less. We had to get into the Champions League ASAP, and we are well on course to do that. We are in the final of the Carabao Cup, and I'm pretty confident we're going to beat Manchester City. We have a round of 16 game against Manchester United. I'm pretty confident we're going to make it to the finals, and we have a Europa League campaign which is realistic. I think we will win the league, and we will win the Europa League, and we will qualify for Champions League. So, moving on from Maurizio Sarri, I want to talk about Eden Hazard. We often hear about the players' mentality from every manager that's been at Chelsea. Every manager comes out and says, the players are not willing to play for me. They're not quite there. They're not willing to play for Chelsea. And we all know the players are often the problem. But what does the club do? The club doesn't want to build a relationship around a manager, but they just use the manager as a scapegoat and sack him. That's it. And we Chelsea fans are so used to a manager being sacked after a poor run of results. We often got immediate success after it. So I think that's the reason we actually won Maurizio Sarri sack, to be fair. We are not used to a manager being there in our club for more than 3 years. Last time Mourinho tried, it was a failure. We knew it. It wasn't going to work out like that. We are so used to immediate success, we've stopped thinking about the long term. And now, finally, I believe the club has gotten into their senses and they've appointed Sarri for the long run. They've supported Sarri by making him bring in Jorginho. They've supported Sarri by getting in Gonzalo Higuain against their policy of buying players over the age of 30. Yeah, I think we're there. I think we will make it. I think Chelsea Football Club is going places in the next 2 to 3 years. I think we have trophies and trophies coming in. So I'm just asking all of you fans to be patient. I also think these managers, these ex-football players who fail at their manager career, become a pundit and talk shit about Chelsea. There's clearly an agenda against Chelsea. For instance, Gary Neville, he was a great player, I agree. He was a shitty manager, became a pundit. Now he's just saying Sarri is an absolute joke. That's not fair at all. He's just jealous of a man who used to be a banker, started off in the lower leagues in the age of 35, 36, worked his socks off, got to the top in the Italian league. Now he's the manager of Chelsea. I agree he hasn't won a trophy yet, but I'm sure he will this season. Let's just give him time. Now let's move on. Coming back to the topic where I said we're talking about the players not being there for the manager. Let's look at the 4 players who have been in both the Conte era and the Mourinho era and who are playing currently now. These players are Gary Cahill, Aspi, Hazard and Willian. Out of these 4, who do you think has the biggest influence in the Chelsea dressing room? Gary Cahill is the club captain, but he's a joke of a leader. He has absolutely no influence. He does nothing to the dressing room. He does nothing that's going to affect the dressing room in a positive way. Aspi is a true leader. I totally respect Azpilicueta. He is amazing. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have negative effects on the Chelsea Football Club. dressing room. And then we have Willian. Managers have backed Willian, but Willian's performance haven't been great. They haven't been great. He just hasn't lived up to the standards as required. He's a great ball carrier. He probably suit Conte's system more than Sarri's system, but his end product is nothing. I hope Hudson-Odoi starts tomorrow. And then we come to Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard for me is the best player in the league. He has the potential to be the best in the world. On his day, he could be as good as Lionel Messi, if not better. He's an amazing player. He's the best player we've had in a long, long time, excluding Frank Lampard and that generation. He probably will go down as the greatest player in Chelsea history if he stays and continues doing what he's doing. But has he been playing up to his potential? I don't think so. And why do you think that is? This is the system. Maybe he's not suited to Sarri's system yet. But everyone knows Eden Hazard's an individual player. He's going to have a great game, and then the next day he's going to come and have his relationship with Real Madrid. He's going to talk about his dreams with Real Madrid. That's going to affect any dressing room in the world in a negative way. If Hazard fails in a game, the entire Chelsea team fails in a game. That's been quite evident for more than 3 to 4 years now. So I think we should maybe consider the fact that it's time to part ways with Eden Hazard for more than £150 million if it's offered by Real Madrid. Because for the long run, we can't be dependent on one player playing for us. We can't be dependent on one player saving us. It has to be a team effort. It's got to work all around. And Eden Hazard, as much as I love him to sign a new contract, I wish he does. Unless he wants to play for Chelsea, I think he should go. He's having a very bad impact on Chelsea. He's having a very bad impact on the dressing room when he's not playing well. When he's upset, the entire team's upset. We have Pulisic coming in the summer. We have Hudson-Odoi, and we have a proper striker in Gonzalo Higuain, at least for next season. And let's build something around them. That's all for me. That's all from me. Chelsea forever. Take care.